Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hoops Hall of Fame podcast. This is your host, Matt Lehner. We all know that the basketball season is almost here, probably starting in a few weeks for a lot of you players. And a lot of you are probably wondering how to construct an in-season training program. A lot of you have been training very hard this off-season, improving your shooting, your ball handling, your scoring moves, your vertical jump, your quickness, your strength. And now that the season's starting, you're wondering, how am I supposed to maintain and keep improving these skills? I worked all off season to become the best player I can be, but now I don't have as much time, I don't have as much energy to devote to training. So what am I going to do? Well, this is a common issue that a lot of players have, and frankly, a lot of players don't even train in season, or very little. They don't have an idea of how they're supposed to train. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about in-season basketball training, how you can continue to improve your skills, improve your body while being in season. I'm going to give you just a generic template to go by. Again, this isn't set in stone. It depends on your individual schedule and what you have time and energy for. But this is the minimum that you should be trying to get done. So during your season, obviously, you have practices 3 to 5 times a week. You have games, maybe 1 to 2 to 3 games a week, maybe tournaments. Obviously, we can't have as much time and can't devote as much energy to actually training as we would during the off-season or the preseason. So in general, again, this is not set in stone, but this is what I would recommend from my experience, what you should be doing to at least maintain. Again, our primary goal would be to at least maintain our skills in our body and our athleticism during the season. But if we can slightly improve, obviously this is even better. But the thing is, most players don't even train in season, as I mentioned. So over the course of the season, they're going to actually lose skill. They're going to lose their athletic ability. So if you can even just maintain, you'll be ahead of those players come the off season and then come the next season. So given that, what I would recommend for skill training, what you do on the court, your actual skill training workouts, you should be aiming to do anywhere from 2 to 3 of these a week during the season. Again, depends on your schedule, but at least 2 and a maximum of 3. 2 to 3 skill workouts. Whatever program you're on, these workouts should take anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes in season. They shouldn't be that exhausting. But again, 2 to 3 of these per week during the season. In terms of your lifting, I'd recommend at least 1 lower body workout, 1 upper body workout, and 1 core workout each week. Now again, you could do a full body session and do the lower body, upper body, and core all in one session. Or again, you could break it up between 3 separate sessions, 3 separate days. For example, if you were doing 3 skill workouts during the week, you could do a skill workout and a lower body workout on one day, a skill workout and upper body workout the next day or a day after that, every other day. And then you could do a skill workout and a core workout. Or you could just do skill and then just do your full lifting in one session. Again, it's up to you. It's up to what you feel like works best for you, what you have time for given that particular week or that day. So again, test it out, see what works. But again, a minimum of 1 lower body and 1 upper body and 1 core workout each week. That's what you need to do to maintain and improve your skills during the season. In terms of how heavy you should lift during your lifting workouts, again, since you're just doing 1 workout per week, you could theoretically try to just lift like you would during the off season. But again, this depends on when you're lifting. You obviously wouldn't want to do this the day before a game or even maybe 2 days before a game. But if your next game is 3 days out, you could maybe get away with it. Again, you might be a little more fatigued for your practices. But again, if your primary goal is to perform during games, this would be fine. But again, this depends on even where you are on the team. If you are fighting tooth and nail just to earn more playing time, you might not want to lift super heavy because, again, that's going to compromise your ability to perform in practice, which would compromise how you be able to perform in the game, because if you're not performing in practice, you're not going to get the playing time. But if you are one of the main guys in your team and your spot is basically secure even though it never really is. But let's just say your spot is secured. You could get away with lifting a little heavier because, again, what really matters in your situation more so would be the games. But again, every practice matters, every game matters. So you're going to have to figure out how heavy you can lift during the season. In general, you don't want to do max lifting like 1 rep maxes, 2 rep maxes, 3 rep maxes. But again, this is something for you to decide based on how you're feeling, what your schedule looks like, and things that you need to consider for yourself. Another tip and another thing I'd recommend that you do would be some additional stationary drills. So in addition to our 2 to 3 skill workouts, I'd recommend that you do some stationary drills, like stationary ball handling, just standing in place, 2 balls. You can do crossovers, just standing in place, dribbling. Again, you could do this before practice, you could do it after practice, you could do it before games, after games. Those are typically the best times I'd recommend, like show up early to practice, spend 5 to 10 minutes just doing some stationary handles, get yourself loose, and spend some time doing some form shooting, free throws, and spot shooting, just standing in place, catch and shoot jumpers like you see NBA players do before games. Some additional shots like that. Again, it's not very fatiguing. Either one of these stationary trains not very fatiguing, but again, getting those extra reps in will definitely help. In addition to the skill workouts you're doing on your own and what you're doing in practice, this will really help amplify that even more. So again, whenever you have the time, before practice, after practice, before games, after games, try to get a little extra stationary training in if you can. Now, in terms of scheduling these workouts, I'm going to give you a few tips from my experience, but again, this comes down to you, what works best for you, testing it out for yourself, and then just changing it up to week depending on what your schedule is. From my experience doing skill workouts and lifting on game days kind of helps your recovery, because what you're doing is you're putting all your heaviest training on one day, because usually games are going to be the most intense because you're the most hyped up for the games. So if you do your skill workout before, a couple hours before the game, then you go out and play your game, and then after the game you do your lifting. It kind of just stacks it all in one day, so that way the next day you might have completely off, or you might just have a practice and you'll have a little more chance to recover that next day. But again, some players might like to do skill workouts before practice or after practices, or they might like to do their lifting before practice or after practice. Again, this depends on you, depends on your schedule, and what works best for you. Some players have found that lifting a few hours before the game, anywhere from like 4 to 6 hours before, actually helps them play better because their muscles are stimulated and they actually run faster, jump higher, etc. Again, this is something that you can test out for yourself, see what works best for you. But when all else fails, scheduling during the season is not a primary concern like it would be during the off season. Obviously, the most important thing with in-season training is that you get the minimum number of workouts in however you have to get them in. Ideally, with the skill workouts, if we're doing 2 to 3, if we were doing 2 workouts in a week, we would do one, say, on a Monday and then the next one on a Thursday to kind of spread it out. Or if we're doing 3, we would do it every other day. But again, at the end of the day, these are just minor details. What matters most is getting the training in no matter what. Really, any time of the year, that's what matters most, is getting the training in no matter what. However you have to do it, however you have to set it up, just get the training in, get the 2 to 3 skill workouts in per week, get your lower body, upper body, and core workout in each week, and do some stationary training before practices, after practices, before games, after games. If you follow that, you will have the best season that you can possibly have given your current skills and abilities, and you will continue to improve slightly over the course of the season, which is the goal, obviously, for a lot of you players, considering most players aren't going to be training in season. Again, if you want to be a college player, and if you're in college, you want to be a professional, this is something you have to take very seriously. Again, not all your teammates will be training in season. So again, if you want to be one of those players, you want to be a professional, this is something you have to start doing right now, this season. And if you have any other questions, I'm definitely here to help you. I'll answer any questions you got when it comes to in-season training or anything with basketball in general. Just like on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, and let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you'd like to hear, and I'll talk to you on the next episode of the Hoops Hall of Fame podcast.